Well, hello my friends. I'm back for part 2 of the bowl that I was working on. Now, I didn't want to make this into 2 parts, but I will tell you why I made it into a 2-part series. As you know, I have picked up some 2-part epoxy or acrylic. To maybe use up for some future projects. Well, the future project happened to be this one. I decided to make a turquoise mix. I think I will show it, the mixing of it, and use it on the bowl. And I will give my opinion on if you want to do a filler for something on your turnings. I am sure that is a great product. Don't have any doubt on it. If you're doing a tabletop and you want the ultimate finish, or you have a slab that you want to fill something in between, or you want to make maybe some legs, I don't even know about that one. I am sure that it's a perfect product because it doesn't yellow. It's easy to get the bubbles out of it, and it's fairly easy to work with. It's straightforward. But if you're doing it for filling small voids, things that you just want to enhance, that is not the product to use. Well, this is early in the morning and I'm back in the shop when it's actually a little bit cool. I've been over here yesterday a couple of times, but like 120 degrees in this hot tin box. So I decided, alright, I have a window AC unit which really is not big enough or sufficient enough to cool it off, but I figured that if it can get the temperature down 5-10 degrees in here, it's worthwhile me putting it in. So I got an AC unit that's I took off once I remodeled the shop, and it's still there. So I'm gonna put it right on this window that's over here closest to my, I'm gonna put it right on that window right there. Right there. Yep, that's where it's going. So just remove the screen and get it in place, and hopefully I can tolerate being in here for a little bit longer than I have been. Got the fan moving freely, but it's got a little wobble on it, I guess, so it's always going to give me that noise until it clears out. I don't know. But this piece, I think before I take it all off, even though that's what I was aiming at because I wanted a good sized bowl, and it would be a good sized bowl, maybe 12-inch diameter, I'm not sure. 11 inches diameter, and the bowl is 4 inches deep. But before taking it all off and saying, okay, it's a bowl, I want to play with the idea that maybe I will keep this as a potpourri box. Lots of checking going on the inside of this. And I really like the wood grain, and if I go all the way inside, that's going to be the end of it. That's just what it's going to show me. And this way, by doing this as a potpourri box, I get this inner rim, I got this nice flare coming up through here, showing off again more wood grain, and then on the inside again. So it will give me multiple surfaces to be explored and to be looked at, and not just a bowl. Now on this piece, I did say how I picked up the acrylic or the resin. Well, I think I want to put something special on this one, so stick around. And like I said, I think for the size of the piece and what I want to use it for, and sometimes usability, you take that into account. So, this is the make it or break it. I'm going to go in there and clear this. Prepping it up for some resin in here, and I will do a bottom half so it can be running towards it, and then I will treat the second half, which will be up here with a different mix. This over here, I'll probably just fill it up from the top. And we draw it up. I figure that will give me a good edging on this. And this one. You know, you look at this stuff and you say, alright, so now what color do I use? You can go to a color wheel if you want to get technical and do your complementary color to whatever you've got. In this case, orangey, pinkish coloring, and you can see on the color wheel what is the most complementary to it. So, but I'm not going to do that. And for those who are politically correct, I want to be politically correct, then you would go do that. But me, I'm going to go with what I think is going to look the best to my eye. And I think it's going to be blue. The reason for blue is because it's enough contrast. Blue, turquoise, you know, that sort of thing. Enough contrast between the words. And really, anything else that I put up, yellow, orange, reds, will be somewhat more of a blending with the colors that are here. So I'm going opposite and far away from here. Going with a blue-green, which is, like I said, aqua, turquoise, that sort of thing. Now, it's not going to take a lot. So I have some small plastic Dixie cups here. And I'm going to mix it up on this. My part A right here. Part B, I'm going to be using the same amount, but no, I am not going to use a scale. I am not going to be measuring this down to the exact thing. If you feel you need to, by all means. But I got the same amount on both of these cups. So take some dust. I'm going to mix it up, remix it to the part A before mixing part A with part B. So I got part A, part B right here. Going to take one of my colors, and I think I'm gonna go with this nice blue-green aquamarine type color. Tell you one thing, there isn't a lot of dust on each one of these bags, that's for sure. And I'm really just experimenting. I have not used this before, and I don't know just how strong this is going to come up. My feeling is that it will be this was a lot of mix. I did not need to do that much. Next time I'll do it a little bit lighter on the amount of powder. It really becomes pretty opaque. And now mix up the two parts. And I don't have a lot of time to play with this. So mix it up good. Make sure it's well mixed. So while it's liquidy, I want to pour in these gaps right here, in these splits. And the bowl in a way that it won't run out on me. The dry time on that is very lengthy. I looked it up, and after 8 hours it's still very tacky, so you can't do anything with that, and it really takes 24 hours roughly to come to a complete cure. So to do fillers, here's my advice to you. Buy the 2-part epoxy, which I just ordered some online because there will be occasions that I do actually want to do epoxy fillers. 5-minute epoxy, you mix it up, you put it in the hole, hit it with a heat gun to get the bubbles out, and you can do multiple applications, one on the top of the other, until you get it filled up to the way you want. That way you can continue doing the work. Well, that forced me to come to a halt. I mean, it was messy in a sense because I was trying to get it concentrated just on the cracks, and seeing that it's a bowl, well, if you put it up here on a crack up here, you have to put the bowl in that angle to stay on that. It doesn't work with a bowl straight upright, and you're hoping that you, within a little bit of time, you'll be able to push that epoxy up to those cracks and it will stay. No, it's not. It doesn't work that way. So if you have a bowl and you want to do a fill on the side, you literally have to put that bowl on that side, put that epoxy, let that dry for at least 7 hours, 8 hours, till it becomes still tacky but a body to it. And then you would turn that bowl around to the opposite side if you have checks going up, or holes or crevices, whatever you have. And you'd have to lay it up in there and wait that period of time again before you could stand it upright and do it all the way around. So you could possibly take 3 days just to do crevices or check marks all the way around your piece. So I'm sure it's a great product. I'm sure I will spend some time exploring with it, and hopefully I will make some stuff that will be really different from anything that I've done in the past. I'm hoping to play a little bit more with epoxy since I bought the 3 double tubes kits. They're like 9-ounce bottles. So I will be mixing some of that diamond dust and maybe playing with some dyes in between, so on and so forth. But not so much with that, unless I have something special to do. If I wanted to coat my pieces for waterproofing, I'm sure that would be pretty nice. If you can just get a skimmed paint coating on it, leave it alone, next day you got a beautiful finish. Would be an interesting finish for this bowl to protect the whole thing and give you a super gloss if I wanted that. But I'm not a gloss type person anyway. So I'll show you the mess, and I'm going to say the mess that I got on the bowl at this point. Not an uncurable mess, but regardless, a mess that I got because I was trying to make it work faster, and it still didn't work faster. So I got the bowl here with all these blobs, and it's nice and dry right now, so I don't have to worry about it. But this was created by the heat gun. I actually brought the heat gun in here and tried to see if I could advance the heating a little bit quicker, which really did not do what I wanted to do. I filled up the voids, but as you can see, it has sunk in. I don't know if you can see that. It's sunk into some of the crevices, so my hopes is not necessarily that the crevices are 100% filled, but is that I will be seeing some of this aqua marine color coming through on the piece once I finalize my turning. Right now it's far from being finalized. I'm going to basically do a scraping both inside and out and get this back to pure wood and not a resin disaster. But the good thing is today, this is, I was here yesterday, so it's been almost 24 hours since I was here last time working on this. So the good thing is that it should be nice and dry, and it should be able to scrape off fairly easy or cut off. I'm going to actually start with my roughing gouge that's reshaped like a bowl gouge, because it's a wide platform and it gives me it doesn't give me many tool marks. I can get a nice clean cut with this, a nice look on the cut. So start it up. But the piece is pretty true, as you can see, so I did not lose much as far as that goes. Okay, got a little ways to go, and that turquoise color will look nice against this red. But gotta go all the way down here. You can see where I had bigger voids. That's gonna look pretty nice. I gotta go down a little bit more here, get this rim all the way down to where this turquoise picks up. I could not fill this up and it kept leaking through. If I had some quick dry epoxy, I would still use it on this to fill up the rest of these voids. I am not, at this point, going to remix and get some of this stuff back in there. So, seeing that I don't have the quick dry epoxy, and I don't have the time to be redoing all of this, which would mean I would need the bowl to be setting on its side to get to this side, and then standing upright to get to this, and so on and so forth. So I will do this with sawdust for the end and CA. Almost there. A little bit more to get to that shine. Okay, I think that looks pretty good, nice and clean inside. It's time to alleviate those few spots that are left open. And like I said, I would have done it gladly with this color stuff, but seeing that it would take a long time, this won't diminish the turquoise that's already in. It won't hide it. It will just be filling up these little voids that are still in here. Let me take it off. Take the chuck off with the bowl so I can lay it up and work on the angle that I need it to work on. So fill it, put CA, fill it up, then once you feel it's pretty full with some fine stuff, put a little bit more CA in it. But I'm trying to gather the finest dust that I have in here, and not necessarily shavings. But if there's a couple shavings in it, it won't be the end of the world either. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. It's just enough. I mean, it's not overwhelming, which I was hoping not to be. Okay, so that's the bottom. Or should I say that's the inside of the piece. Okay, so that should do for the piece. I'm going to let that dry up for a couple of minutes. Step outside, get rid of the teary eye that I got from the fumes of this. Be right back. Okay, it's time to go in here and do a little bit of sanding. I've actually already passed it up with 80 grit. So stepping it up to 120, and now I will go through the grits that I see that I need to do this. Seeing that I have epoxy on this, I'm going to really have to work this to make this really translucent. So can't take shortcuts with that. $220. You know, I usually break this rule a little bit. I don't go through every one of these grits, and I let my sandpaper pretty much get pretty worn down, unless it gets torn up by the turning. So I don't spend a lot of time sanding really. And I might make the 320 as my final sanding on this. So 320 grit right now. Then I will, of course, do my usual finishes with the Yorkshire grit. I might go and try out that micro grit that was sent to me. Well, I shouldn't say that's usually what I go up to and stop it there, because generally it doesn't take much, and I really don't care what the grit is, but I believe it's around 1,000 grit or 800 grit or whatever. Fine steel wool. I use this all the time as well. Put it at a high speed, and it gives you a nice polished look to it before you apply any finish. Of a shine on your wood. You're furnishing more than you are sanding with this. Very inexpensive. You pick it up just about any hardware store and the big box stores, of course. And it lasts a long time. But here it is. It's a nice finish, considering you're not even doing any wet sanding or anything like that. But this definitely will accept whatever finish I decide to apply on the top of this. And make sure I get all the dust out of these crevices. Whatever I got crevices with sawdust that stays in as filler. But I don't want to add anything to it. Yes, just using my vacuum on reverse. And better on a remote. So I don't have to reach over, go over there, start it up. It's an expensive plug that it plugs in between. I actually got that for my my air filtration, my dust extractor, but those are not strong enough to run a heavy-duty motor. That's only good enough for light-duty stuff. Since I got this pretty well sanded, I feel pretty good about it. I'm going to attempt not the Yorkshire grit, but the microfine Yorkshire grit, and see how that stands up against my testing of this. Now, like anything else, it will bring up the colors automatically on what your finished piece will look like. It will not put the gloss that you want, but it will give you a good indication of what the piece is going to look like when all said and done. And as I anticipated right from the beginning, an amazing piece. So again, I'm applying is the micro Yorkshire grit that was supplied to me, microfine abrasive paste, and I really hadn't given it a test, even though I announced it a couple of turnings ago that I had received it and I was going to be giving it a test drive, but I didn't. So let's see what we got here. We'll start it up and start rubbing some of this stuff until it disappears off the wood. Now this stuff is available in the UK, Canada. Pretty sure it's my friend Rob Summerlin carries it. He's a distributor for it. In the United States, you can always go to the Walnut Log. Jeff Homing. I'm horrible with names though. That has not changed. But it's the Walnut Log He's the distributor in the United States that will sell you Yorkshire grit and other stuff as well. But he's the distributor, and actually whenever I get Yorkshire grit or this stuff for that matter, that's where it comes from. It comes from the walnut log. But Glenn Senior is the father of this. He's the one that came up with this formula and made it what it is. It's a wonderful product. I don't know about this one. I think that's the Yorkshire grit. I mean, I swear by the Yorkshire grit itself. This I have not given it much of a chance to know exactly what it will do or what it will not do. I can tell you, I am fairly happy with the translucent that's already on the acrylic without going up to 2000 grit and all that stuff to make it really, really translucent. And if you're working with something that really you need the translucency, I'm looking for a good finish, a nice color that you can see inside of, and not hazed up, but I'm not looking to see the wood fibers, which I would be able to if I cleaned this up to a 2000 grit or whatever. That would be super translucent all the way through. So, my finish of choice, as always, is Aubergine juice. And I get this question all the time, what's the formula for it? I have given it, I have made a video specifically on it, but it's so simple that I don't mind giving it to you again. It's one-third shellac, one-third denatured alcohol, and one-third you can either use boiled linseed oil or tung oil. The tung oil will make your piece a little bit more food safe. And based on what I've read up to now on food safe products, the difference really is what has been gone through the FDA and approved or not. So the boiled linseed oil has little bits of impurities, so therefore that's the only reason why it's not food safe. But once you apply your finish, even with the aubergine juice, and it cures completely, then it becomes a hard shell and it becomes food safe as well. I've read this, don't quote me on it. I've read a big article on how it's established something to be food safe or not food safe, and it's really some of it is just a matter of labeling and somebody going through the trouble of having it tested to pass that test. It does not mean that it's the only thing out there that would pass this food safe test. It really comes down to the Food Administration if they have labeled something already as such. Not telling you to go and soak your piece in boiled linseed oil and fill it up with soup and have some soup. That is, anything in moderation is okay. It's excessive use. Or a child perhaps chewing on your piece would definitely not be a good thing one way or the other. And I don't think it matters what finish you would have. I mean, we're not using lead paint per se, but I'm sure that there would be some side effects that would not be good for the child. So, but as far as putting it up on a table, setting it up with some dry fruits or a salad, I don't know, a salad, if you putting any dressing on the salad, I would caution you on it, because the salad has vinegar, and not the oil itself. It would not be a problem with oil, but the vinegar might break down some of the stuff that's on here. I'm not sure. Slow it down, and I want to rub some of this stuff liberal, very heavy. And I'm looking at the reflections of my light, what's going on with the piece, and I should see clear lighting reflections, not blobs of white, but actually an outline of a light bulb. And when you get it there, you know that it's good. Once it starts getting tacky, it starts pulling on you, speed it up a little bit. Now I know that I could spend a lot more time on this piece as well, like any of my pieces. But, and it's not even to say, oh, well, I'm not putting it in a museum. I don't care where this would go, whether if it was a gallery or not gallery. I feel that it has enough things going on with it that make it less than perfect per se for the show, but perfect for the artistic eye. So it would definitely be an acceptable piece, not a flawless piece. There's a difference there. It's not the flawless that makes something artistic. It's at what point is it? What are the flaws though? Are the flaws taken away from the value of the piece? Are the flaws just showing you that the piece has gone through some struggles in its life? Are the flaws workmanship flaws? And workmanship flaws are not acceptable. They are not acceptable on the area that we are discussing. They can be acceptable in a household, they can be acceptable to anybody's likings. But when you talk about gallery stuff, the workmanship flaws are what would unqualify a piece from being displayed in a gallery or not. And it depends on, then again, who's looking at it too. They must know the art form to be able to do that fairly. But I think that this has just the right amount of turquoise going through here. It just shows you that the checking, and you know, I mean, this happens to be turquoise, but if I had done this in wood shavings, hey, I'm not saying it would have looked bad. I would never say that, because it is, again, if you know, work with what you got. Don't ever get something that you think you could use. Different thing there. But anyway, with this, definitely it looks better than it would with the sawdust because of the contrast that it applies to it, and the fact that is a color that's complementing the colors that's on the wood. It's really did a nice justice. Now, if I didn't have it, would it be waste? No, no way. It would have. This would have looked good in tinfoil if that's what I had to work with. Well, I still have the bottom to finish up, and like always, the bottom is a matter of of finding something. I happen to have this felt disc, which was a cheap buffing pad, I believe, maybe a Harbor Freight or something like that. And I put a mortise, a tenon on it, so it fits this draw set. I put it in there and it gives me a nice cushion to hold up my piece. I'm not worried about the center. Where's the center on this piece? How am I going to center it? I do have a center point right over there, and that's the only one that I'm focused on. And then it's a matter of doing a slight tilt if I need to. Okay, and there it is. So if I see too much of a wobble back here, which won't affect the center, but if I see it, I just tap it down a little bit, and that's usually enough to straighten it out. And the rest of is a matter of putting the tool rest in there close enough. The angle, more or less in a way that you can rest your tool on it, so it doesn't bottom out or go flying somewhere else. A good amount of pressure, not a lot of pressure, but a good amount of pressure where the thing is not going to wobble on you, but speed down some. You can always increase it, but start low and increase it as you go. I'm rhyming. So, right in here, start my cut. I'll scrape that out because it has some epoxy spillover over there. And cut the rest of that. One of the comments on the last video that I just put up, somebody's asking me, it's like, oh wow, while you were roughing out, it looks like you had your tool at 12 o'clock. I know many times I look at the camera and that's what it looks like, but it's because of the camera angle. I'm not saying I never run the tool at 12 o'clock. If I'm using the very tip of it, I will do that and be at 12 o'clock, because I'm relying just on a little bit of that cut and not so much a pressure of a catch. But generally, I'm running my tool, the gouge, always at between a 1 and a 3 o'clock. And the majority of the time, I'm more like in that 2 o'clock range. The 3 o'clock is really when I'm doing a shear cut, which I'm almost parallel to the piece, and I do that quite a bit. But yeah, that 3 o'clock shear scrape, 2 o'clock cut most of the time. This is a skew. Don't use the skew for much. And I'm not embarrassed to say I have not practiced with a skew enough to master it. If you know how to use a skew, and I've seen some people that do amazing work with a skew, and I'm just saying, I wish that I had anywhere near that kind of skill level that they demonstrate on their skew usage. And that's a tool in itself that will take some time to master. But, you know, you get used to one specific tool over another. And it doesn't matter what tool you use, does not make you any less a lesson of a wood turner. Even if I'm considering myself like I wish I had that knowledge, and it would be nice, and someday I might, but for now I am fine with the tools that I use. I don't wish for a minute that I could be using over here skew because it would make life so much easier. No, it's just another tool that you would get yourself used to and you can master. But whatever tool you've mastered does the job. So I think that it does the job. I think I do pretty good with a bowl gouge. Why? Because I learned with it. Not because I forced myself to it. It's the only tool I really had. I didn't have carbides. I did not have any carbides. When I bought my lathe, I had a lot of traditional tools and some non-traditional that I made work. So, that's all it is. I've got that little knob cut down pretty tight to the bottom. Well, I definitely want to get rid of this, but that will disappear with the sanding and spot. So I will release this, snap off that little knob, and that's all it left me, a little knob. Then with the 80 grit or 120 grit, I can go in here, or I can put this on my headstand and use it there. I could put this on a drill press, but I feel that this is fine. And this is ready for finish, which will be just the OB shine juice. And that's all I put on the bottom most of the time, and my stamp. Anybody's welcome to flip the piece over and look at it and say, oh my goodness, Al, why didn't you give that a super polish? Because I didn't. Because I don't like to give myself a lot of extra work, and because the bottom is not the part that's displayed. You put your rings, you put whatever decoration you want, you put your stamp, but if you're happy with the look and the overall appearance of it, then don't worry about the rest. It's definitely a beautiful piece, and I'm glad I went with the turquoise color. I've always liked turquoise. It's one of my favorite colors, actually. It's a color that I've always associated with the sea, and I love the sea. So, and that's what you got, is that marbly look going through it with that diamond powder. It gives you a nice appearance. I have it on both sides. Not enough to see it on these small crevices, but it's there as well, just not as noticeable. And the bottom, well, I don't have as much. I have just a little bit of highlights going through here, just enough for a glow, just a touch of the bark coming up on both sides, and you tell me what you think. I love the coloration. I love this pattern going through here. I love these checkings going through here, which normally people would say, oh my god, it's checked, I don't want to turn it. No, it's checked. Turn it. You know, it's, the checking is better than the plain piece without it. You know, people spend a lot of money, or people do a lot of experimenting with the electro, I forgot what that's called, with terrifying electric jumping all over your piece into the moisture and creating these beautiful patterns. I will not try that. I don't care how many people are saying, oh, you should do that. It's not for me. Electricity belongs in my walls for me to run my tools, not for me to be holding two probes that are running 600 volts through them and sparking away, finding their way to the closest pattern to moisture or to ground. That's not for me, I'm sorry. Occasionally I wonder about one of my friends who used to comment on my videos all the time, and he doesn't comment anymore, but I actually went to look him up and make sure that he was still okay, because he actually made one with a transformer from a microwave. And since I haven't seen him really posting anything, and he hasn't in some time, but 6 months, so I know at least by that time he was okay. But I was concerned about him because he made a very crude one and was showing people on how to make it. I would never do that. You know, you can't just do something because you know how. There's a lot of safety that you would have to take into account making such a tool. As a matter of fact, Woodworkers Association banned it from their website because so many people got killed with it. And I know people still use it. I know Carl Jacobson is doing quite a bit with it. He was playing with it not too long ago. And I don't comment on those, you know, how beautiful they are one way or the other. Even though I think that they are beautiful, but I don't think that they are a safe practice, regardless of how beautiful they are. So therefore, I just look, admire, and think to myself, wow, it's beautiful, but it's definitely not for me. Not for me. It's never going to be for me. I don't care if I had to stand in a rubber suit over here and with ground poles going up across the city and somebody assuring me how safe it is. I'll work with electricity. I know my limitations with electricity. There's no, that's not a limitation, that is an accident waiting to happen, because it does jump. And if you're perspiring, you're wet, you're carrying moisture, if you're closer than the 2 points of moisture that it's traveling to, it could travel to your body instead. So therefore, it's not for me, but this is for me. This is the piece that I just turned. I think it might have been worthy the time that you waited to see this piece. I was really hopeful that this checking that was going through here would do something nice, and it did. Bottom just needs my stamp. The piece has a nice feel to it. It's got a good weight to it. It started off very heavy, but this type of a piece, I try not to make it too delicate. It's not going to warp, it's not going to split, it's not going to check. It's a finished piece with some mass to it. The thickness is about 3/8 to almost a half-inch thick all the way down. The profile follows up the outside very nicely, which is an OG. I thought the OG would do a nice touch to the piece. And here's a piece turned. Not going to say that it was an easy turning. Wood was extremely, extremely dense. Very hard on the cuts, even with a sharpest tool. As soon as I would get a little bit more of a bite on it, the lathe would literally stall. And then I have another component that's fighting against me, which is the temperature in the shop. I can't be out here for long periods of time. I installed the window AC, like I showed the just a brief part of the installation. And I had it running last night, and I kept it running so I could come out here today. Figured it would be nice and cool. The whole coil was frozen solid, so that didn't do it for me. So it's time for me to replace with basically the same size unit, but one that will actually throw me a few more BTUs in here and not freeze up every time. I need to put a temporary filter in front of it that I can easily change so it doesn't clog up the filter, because I went for that one yesterday and those coils in the front were completely clogged. Completely clogged. Then the fan had a little wobble on it. It was making noise. So I got that cleared away by pushing out on the wall, and it cleared up that rubbing, whatever it was rubbing on the inside. And you know, this morning to come in, and it was frozen solid. So it's 100 and some degrees. I got an exhaust fan going up over there, which draws air out of the shed and dust. So I got that running pretty much all the time. It doesn't seem to interfere with the video. And I have one behind me that's also drawing a little bit of air back there. And I got it aiming directly at me, so it helps a little bit, but not enough to be comfortable in here. I am drenched. I need to go and